Hello, cheapskaters. I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up, and laughing. If this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. We're really pleased to see you. If it's not your first time, welcome back. I'm pleased to see you again. Today is Tuesday, the 28th of September, 2021. And this is a YouTube live event. Bit of housekeeping before we get started, and then I'll get right into it because there's a lot to cover tonight. If you'd like to join the live chat tonight, which is over on the side, you need to be logged into your YouTube channel. That's just what YouTube calls an account, or your Gmail account. And that is a YouTube Google thing, not a Kath thing. If you don't have either of those, don't worry about it. You can still leave a comment just in the section underneath me here. And I'll do my best to get back to you tomorrow or maybe Thursday. Depends how busy I get tomorrow. Now, one other thing before we get started. Thumbs up, please. Thumbs up, those little thumbs up, those likes really, really, really help our rankings with YouTube. I don't understand the ins and outs of it, and I'm probably never going to, but they just really help our channel stay up there so people can find us. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do. It's simple. You just click the subscribe button and then the bell. Don't forget the little bell next to it. And then every time we go live or a new video is uploaded, you'll be notified. And that's it. We don't spam you. Now, if you have any questions tonight, and I am expecting there will be a few, could you please put them in all uppercase, all capital letters, so they stand out? That way I'll be able to find them and I will answer them for you at the end of the show. I will go back when I have finished and we'll work our way through the questions in the comments. And that's so that, you know, if you just want to watch the show, you can watch it and go. You don't have to hang around for all the chit chat and questions and answers afterwards. Now, over the weekend, over on Cheapskates Chatter, which is our Facebook group, and there's a link to join underneath me here if you haven't already. It's really simple. Just click the link and there are 2 questions that must be answered, and if you don't answer them, you won't be approved to join. So you must answer those questions. There was some discussion about dehydrating and you know, do you need oxygen absorbers and all sorts of things like that, and why do I dehydrate, and all sorts of things. Dehydrating is, seriously, other than packing it in a bag and shoving it in the freezer, it has to be the easiest way to preserve your food. So tonight, while I'm loading up the dehydrators, I'll go over why I dehydrate, how I dehydrate, and the benefits to me. And I'm pretty sure if it benefits me and my family, it's going to benefit you and your family too. Now, I dehydrate mainly for convenience. Dried food is shelf stable. I don't need to worry about the freezer or the fridge. I just dry it, package it, and put it on the shelf. It's usually in a cool, dark place, and it's ready to go. It just needs boiling water to rehydrate. It's easy. Now, a lot of dehydrated foods are very compact too, because of course, when you take the moisture out of them, they shrink. Maybe someone needs to take the moisture out of me a bit and I can shrink. But you take the moisture out, it shrinks. Of course, when you put the moisture back in, which is what you do when you rehydrate with the boiling water, it swells up. You don't need any special equipment to dehydrate. An oven, a working oven will do it for you. let me get started. I'll show you while I'm going here. Sorry about the noise. This is my 6-tray dehydrator, and I'm just going to grab a bowl out of the drawer because I forgot, because this has strawberries in it. I dehydrated strawberries. Now I'll swing it round so you can, oops, sorry guys. Swing it round so you can see it. Let me go. Close your eyes if you've got vertigo. This might make you, there we go. I don't normally have it in the kitchen, so I'm not sure where I'm going with it. Alrighty. This is my 6-tray. Now it has strawberries in it. I dehydrated these strawberries. I've been dehydrating strawberries like crazy because they've been so cheap. And I don't really like strawberry jam all that much. It's not my favourite. So strawberries have been going into the dehydrator. They are hulled and sliced into 1/4-inch slices and then put on the tray and set. And depending on the fruit, at 60 degrees Celsius, which is the temperature for fruits, dehydrating fruits, they can take, it really does depend on the fruit, anything up to 14 hours. If they're the really big juicy berries and you slice them quite thickly, then they are going to take longer than little berries will. Can you hear? Oh, that's me rattling the bowl. Let me see if I can not do that for you, because that's annoying. The other noise is the actual cherries, strawberries hitting the dish. They are really dry. Now these have to be really, really dry because I'm going to powder them. Remember a few weeks ago I said I was working on a series of videos on different powders. Well, these, oh gee, they smell good. 1.4 kilos I put through. Now these trays were absolutely loaded, so they've shrunk quite a bit, but oh, they're so good. It's 1.4 kilos. I weighed them before I put them on the trays, minus 4 slices that I sampled before. Okay, there we go. A couple more left. Now I'm doing this because I actually want to load. Seeing we're talking dehydrating, we might as well do some, hey? So these are really yum. You didn't see that, did you? They keep the strawberry flavour. It's really quite intense. It seems to be really concentrated. Just delicious. You can eat them just like this. Wayne and I ate a whole tray full the other night between us, just sitting on the lounge reading. And we were sampling the last lot to see if they were good enough. They were. Oh, they were delicious. This lot is too. Strawberries have been really cheap. So let me see how I'm going. These are some bigger pieces. I don't do anything to them. I slice them, put them straight in the tray and put them straight in the dehydrator. I don't soak them in lemon juice. I don't do anything to them other than wash them, hold them, drain them so they're not wet when they go in the dehydrator. And then I just let them dry. Yum. And they are certainly dry. You can hear the clink as they hit the bowl. And that's what you want. If you're making powders and your fruit or vegetables aren't dry enough, your powder won't powder. It will turn to clag and eventually mold. So you need to make sure if you're doing powders that the fruit is really, really dry. Nearly there. And then I'll show you when I talk about this dehydrator. This is my big one, 6 trays. I've only had this one a couple of years. I started out using the oven to dehydrate. Told you don't need any fancy equipment. You can dehydrate in your oven. That's what I started out with. Oh, beauty. I'll pop you back in there, and I'll take these little mesh sheets I made myself. Smaller holes in them to let the air through, so that when small things or big things dehydrate, they become very small, like peas or carrots or corn, grapes, that sort of thing. And that's when they fall through the the trays. So something landed on the floor. All right, now this one's Sunbeam. It was a surprise for me that I absolutely love, because you know I like practical surprise presents. I like girly things and pretty things, but you know, practical present always makes me happy too. All right, they can go. Now I just put these through the dishwasher. I just lay them in the plate rack in the dishwasher and let them wash through. So that will happen later. Now I want to load it up with, there's the strawberries. Can you see without my big hand? I want to load it up with mince, because I dehydrate mince a lot. So I will be doing the same thing and putting liners on these trays. I'm not sure how many I will need. I've got about 1.5 kilos of mince. Now, you might be wondering why I dehydrate mince over freezing it, but it is so convenient to have dehydrated mince, especially as a handful of strawberry seeds, especially as we go camping a lot. And of course, dehydrated foods are really, really, turn you again, guys. Dehydrated foods are really, really, really light and easy to pack. They are compact. They don't take up a lot of space in backpacks or tucker boxes or pantry shelves. So this one's going to have mince on it. Now I did the mince this afternoon. I had a bit of a cooking session this afternoon, one of those double up sessions that I talk about, and I've cooked up the mince. Now, when you are going to dehydrate mince, it needs to be cooked first. This isn't canning. This isn't pressure canning it. So you need to cook it first. No pink. Absolutely no pink in any of it. If I was to pick up a little crumble and split it open, can you see? There's no pink in that at all. It is cooked all the way through. I don't brown it, but it is cooked. And all I do is put it in I use my wok because it's a big pan, and over a medium-low heat, and constantly stirring it so that it doesn't actually brown, it cooks. The next thing you have to do is drain it really, really well. And I just dump it in the colander, and then I pour 2, sometimes 3 kettles of boiling water over it until the water actually runs through clear. You do that, and boiling water works best because you want the fat off it. You're dehydrating it. So you don't want any fat on it. You want as much fat off it as you can get. And the boiling water in the colander and the draining helps. Once that water runs clear, let it sit, because what are we doing with it? We're dehydrating it. So we don't want it wet. when we put it in the dehydrator, we want it as dry as possible for a couple of reasons. If it's really nice and dry like this, when it goes into the dehydrator, it won't clump together. It will dry evenly all the way through, and it will keep that nice light color. I'll show you in a moment if what happens if you brown it too much or if it's not quite dry. So let me just see what I can do with this while I'm talking to you. I'm just going to use my hands because they were clean just before we came on. I washed them because I knew I'd be using my hands. Spread it over. Review. Spread it on the tray in just a nice even thin layer. Probably about 1/4 inch thick maybe. It's just like a really thin layer, just like so. And in it goes. Now I love this dehydrator because it actually has a digital timer and thermostat, which works really, really well. Makes it so much easier to process your food. And once this is done, it's shelf stable. It lasts for up to 2 years, depending on how you keep it. If you keep it properly, it'll be good for at least 2 years. Remember, it will always have a little bit of fat in it. You cannot get rid of it all, no matter how hard you try. So it will always have a little bit of fat in it, which means that there's always the chance it will go rancid. So drain. That's another reason you really want to get rid of the fat in your meat. Drain it, drain it, drain it, spread it out. There we go. There's another tray done. Looks like I will be using all 6 trays. And this will cook overnight, process overnight, and be ready in the morning when I get up. So when I get up in the morning, the dehydrator will have turned itself off sometime during the night, and it will have cooled down. And once it's cool, you can put it into jars, or you can vacuum seal it in bags, or however you are going to store it. I usually just put it in jars. And this might, let's see, there we go. I usually just put it in jars. I'll show you just an ordinary jar with a nice airtight lid. Works wonders. There we go. Last tray, ready and in. Okay, just let me go and wash my hands. My big fluffy slippers on. And I'll be back. Alrighty, now all I have to do, it's so simple. Put the cover on, turn the power on, turn it on, set the temperature for meat at 70 and the time for, it's pretty dry, so 10 hours will do it. Now, it will turn itself off in 10 hours and it will beep, and I'll know it's turned off if I'm awake. And that should be ready. It'll be done. And that's shelf stable. All I have to do if I want to use it to make pasta sauce or tacos or even meat pie filling, whatever, is soak it in boiling water. It takes about 15 minutes to rehydrate. And I usually do a cup of meat to a cup of water. And if I'm thinking at the time, if I'm thinking, really thinking, then I can use the water as base to make gravy. So nothing goes to waste. Okay, now, so this was mine. I've had it, I think coming up 3 years we've had this. It really works hard. It works probably, I've been giving it a good workout for about 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks now, and that won't stop until the end of autumn next year, till the garden runs out. It will just keep going. That's that one. It was quite a lot more expensive than this little one that I will show you. And this little one was the very first dehydrator. Look, see? Very first dehydrator. I'll spin you around, guys, so you can see that I ever had. $40 from Aldi, and I still use it. It's only 3 trays, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't have a timer on it. It does have a thermostat, so it's pretty basic. But this has gone, I've used this for, I don't know, 12, 14 years, a long, long time I've had this dehydrator. Now what I had to do was, on the trays, because they're such a weird shape, and they have quite big holes in them. The holes are important. It lets the air through so the food can dry. I got plastic mesh and cut it to fit so that little things don't fall through it. Now I was going to put some frozen veggies in here, but I forgot to get them out of the freezer. So I will do that after. This lasted, it's been a real workhorse. It's dried mince. It's dried all sorts of veggies. I usually set it up in summer. I usually set it up out in the back veranda, set both of them up out in the back veranda and just leave them. So because there is hot air in these things, so we don't want that in the house in summer. The back veranda is a perfect place for them. It's convenient, so I can just zip out and check them. It's undercover, so they're protected from the weather and they don't heat up the house. Now I did have a very quick, I'll move you around again because I'm talking on an angle. Sorry guys, lift you up. There we go. I did a very quick search, a really quick search online for dehydrators. Big W has one for about $40. Kmart's supposed to have one for about $40. Catch has one for about $40. Kogan. So they're all roughly around that price for this sort of thing, for this sort of setup. You're moving up into the 100 plus for something like this. Or you can, if you're a really expert dehydrator, and I'm not, but one day when I am, I'm going to have one of these, is the Excalibur, which is all stainless steel, and it's just amazing, but it's close to $1,000. So, you have to save a lot of money drying a lot of fruit and veg and food to be able to justify that, I think. But it's the same deal. You just lay the food in a single layer with a bit of space between it, let the air circulate so it can dry on the tray, stack them up, turn it on and let it go. It works its magic and you end up with dried food. Now, as I was saying, I'll put this back here, sorry. As I was saying, you don't need a dehydrator. You can use your oven. All you need to do is get your cake racks. Let me get rid of this bowl. got a trusty cake rack here. Cake rack will do. Cake rack. This one's got nice smallish holes in it. Pop your food on that. Put it in your oven. Turn your oven to the lowest heat you can get. Now, 70 degrees is about as high, and your dehydrators is about as high as they will go. Ovens don't often go down that low, so set it as low as it will go, and then put a wooden spoon in the door, between the door and the oven wall, so there's that little gap, and your food will dry like that. It's really easy to do. I did that for years and years and years. In summer, when it was really, really hot, remember a few years ago we had a whole almost a fortnight of days that were 45, 46, 47, really hot. It was so hot, the water in the pool was too hot to get in. We couldn't get in, it was just too hot. Perfect weather for dehydrating outside. Same deal. Pop your food on a rack, sit it in the sun, on a table in the sun, and I have one of these nifty gizmos. I've actually got two of them, see? That went over the top of them, or go over the top of them, just to keep the bugs off. Don't want bugs in with my tomatoes, because dried bugs look like tomato seeds. We don't want to get confused. So you can use the sun. I haven't tried it. Keep meaning to, but I forget. In the car in summer, park your car in the sun. Same deal. Food on a rack. Put it up in the window, the back window, or across the dash, anywhere the sun is, and see if it will dry. So you don't need a lot of expensive, fancy equipment to do it. And the benefits are amazing, because you end up with peas, corn, carrots. Now this was frozen. It's a kilo and a half, 1.5 kilo packets of frozen peas, corn, carrots in that jar. Shelf stable. If the power goes out tonight and the freezer's thaw, we'll have peas, corn, carrots. Okay, really easy to do. You can do frozen veggies. You can do frozen peas on their own, frozen corn. I don't like cauliflower, dehydrated cauliflower. I haven't been able to find a way that it hasn't gone grey. I do dehydrate broccoli. It fades a little, but it's fine, and it goes to powder. But things like celery. Okay, now this is a jar, and you can tell it here. I need to turn this off, don't I? There we go. It'll stop in a moment. It's dry. It's properly dry. It's loose in the jar, and you can hear it rattling. It's properly dry. Now that's celery. Now I didn't blanch it, so some of it's a bit faded, but that's fine, because when it's like this, just sliced like this, it goes into soup. It goes into casseroles. So that's celery. I just grabbed some stuff off the shelf as I was going. Carrots. These were carrot rings. Oh, okay. So this is a ball jar, and I vacuum sealed it, so I won't open it. But same deal. Nice and loose in the jar, so there's no moisture in there. And it's sealed. They're great. Same deal. They will go into soups, into casseroles or stews, whatever like that. You can also dry or dehydrate tinned vegetables. Now, sometimes tinned veggies are cheaper. You sometimes might luck out and get them on a really good deal. So you can dehydrate tinned veggies too. Same deal, drain them. Now, I'm not a fan of tinned veggies out of the tin. We use them when we go camping. If we're away for 6 or 8 weeks, they're a good standby. So, excuse me, I've got the hiccups now. Oh, talk too much and I start hiccups. Drain them and I rinse them because I don't like whatever they put in the water. I don't like it. But dried corn is really convenient too. Dried peas, dried beans, zucchini is another thing that I dry. Onions, tomatoes, of course. We all know to dry tomatoes, and you can do them in the dehydrator. You can do them in the oven. You can do them so that if you're doing tomatoes, you can do them so they're still soft and pliable, in which case they will need to be in oil and kept in the fridge, or you can do them until they are completely dry, and then you can whiz them into a powder, and tomato powder is amazing. Now you can use the tomato skins for tomato powder, but I never have tomato skins. I don't know why people go to the... I don't go to the bother of peeling tomatoes when I'm making sauce because I puree it. So the skin goes through. It just goes into the puree. So I don't have tomato skins to dry and turn to powder. But I do have tomatoes usually. So you slice them as thin as you can, lay them on your dehydrator sheet, process them, and then whiz them up tomato powder. And it is so concentrated. It is so good. The soup I made last Thursday, whatever, for the weekend was going to be minestrone, was going to be chicken and vegetable. And then I decided, no, I wouldn't waste the chicken meat. I'd save that for something else. So it was just going to be minestrone, but then I didn't want to put any pasta into it. And then I found this just a little bit of tomato powder left in the container from 2 years ago and added that. Oh my God, it just lifted it. It was just a little lift. It was beautiful. Now, if you add tomato powder to your gravy, if you're making a gravy for sausages or rissoles or something, and you have tomato powder and you add it to the gravy, it is something special. It is just delicious. Absolutely just delicious. And I flick back to my notes because I've got a few. All right. And let me see. Mushrooms. Oh, guys, I've used all my dried mushrooms, but dried mushrooms, so handy. Mushroom soup. You can make mushroom sauce with them. You can add them to casseroles. You can add them to stir fries. You can add them to all sorts of things. Just one thing. Do not try to dry mushrooms in your house. They stink to high heaven when they are dehydrating. It is just revolting. So they always get done outside. Now, quite often you'll see mushrooms really cheap at the greengrocer. They'll be $4 a kilo, $5 a kilo. That's my top price. If I can get them under, I'm much happier. And I will buy a box and slice them and dehydrate them. And we use them for all sorts of things. Really, really good. Rehydrate them, put them into omelets, chopped in quiche. Really good. Mushrooms are another thing that you can easily dehydrate. Fruits like peaches and apricots, mango, nectarines, plums, because what's a dried plum? A prune. You can make your own prunes. So all sorts of things. Bananas. Remember, must have been 2007, 2006, 2007. It was a cyclone that wiped out the banana plantations around Cairns, and bananas were like $12 a kilo. And so I was able to get some from the market that were a reasonable price, and we ate some, and I put some in the freezer, but I also sliced them and made them into banana chips. So you can turn bananas into banana chips. And that, they do need to be soaked in lemon juice, or they do discolour. Bananas discolour anyway. So lemon juice, and fresh works better than bottled for that too. Bottled is usually okay, but bananas just seem to like fresh lemon juice. So fresh lemon juice. But you can dehydrate lemons or oranges or limes or grapefruit. You can do all those things. And all it is, same deal, slice them thinly, about 6 mil, about 1/4 of an inch thick, is as thick as you want them to be to dry them. And you can string them together then and use them as garlands. You can make tea with them. You can do all sorts of things, chop them up and make them into, and add them to cakes. You can use your orange and lemon peels, dehydrate just the peel. Once you've juiced it, dehydrate the peel and make powders with them, orange powder, lemon powder, lime powder, and use those powders to flavour cakes and icings and cheesecakes and all sorts of things, ice cream, all sorts of things those powders can be used for, or to just make tea. Really easy. When you're doing the citrus peels, you need to be really good. Get as much pith as you can off them, and again, slice them quite thinly. You'll slice them up, but into thin shards so that they dry evenly. But the fragrance while they're drying, and it's so concentrated, it's just beautiful. Really, really nice in the house. So back to what you can do. Meat. This is a jar of dried mince. I'm going to vacuum seal this one too. Oh, there we go. Opened it. Now, let me see. It's really hard. It's crumbly. Did you hear it? You can hear how crumbly it is. That's what you want. In boiling water for 15 minutes or so, and it becomes, oh, I'm going the wrong way, it becomes mince, like freshly cooked mince. It's really great. It's handy. I think there's about 2 kilos in that jar. Mince doesn't shrink as much when it dehydrates, but it does shrink. So it might have started out, maybe it was 1.5 kilos, because these are the 500 ml jars. 1.5 kilos. Started out, in a big block. That's what it ends up in. So I need to make a note to seal that jar again. All sorts of things. Then you've got the purees, the roll-ups, the fruit leathers, whatever you want to call them, or the jerky that you can make. Now, I'm not a fan of jerky, so I don't make it very often because I'm not a fan of it. So it's made special request. But you can do it. You can do it by dehydrating the meats. Your fruit leathers, the roll-ups and things, you need one of these, something like this, to hold it. So it has a lip on it. This tray has a lip on it. The others don't. And of course, no holes. So that your puree will spread on the tray. So raspberries, peaches, apricots, nectarines, plums, watermelon, mangoes, pawpaw. You can do banana if you want to and add it to something. 1, 2, mix them up, whatever. Blueberries, all sorts of things, into a puree. Bung it, pour it onto your sheet, pop it in the dehydrator. Now mine actually has a setting for it, and it's, yep, 70 degrees. It says for meat, for jerky, and for fruit rolls, 70 degrees, and that's Celsius. And make your own. If you've got fruit trees, you don't need to buy those things. You know, if you're not eating the fruit fresh, if you're not bottling it, if you're not canning it, if you're not freezing it, dehydrate it or puree it and make fruit roll-ups. Just remember, they're really concentrated, so there's lots of sugar in just a little piece of one of those, but they're really, really good. And there's nothing else in them but maybe lemon juice. You might add a little bit of lemon juice. Otherwise, it's straight fruit puree, and it's delicious. Okay. Here we go. Here's a question. I just saw it. I vacuum seal the jars. This one's vacuum sealed. If I'm doing them, I usually do quite a lot. I do a batch. So I don't just do, you know, one jar of carrots. I will do half a dozen. So they have to last on the shelf for a while. So they're vacuum sealed. The celery, on the other hand, is just in a Makona jar because I use a lot of it. And this is what's left from, it smells really good too. What's left from the beginning of winter. I've used probably 2 of those jars, and this is the last one. Peas, corn, and carrots, vacuum sealed. It all gets vacuum sealed. Now, I will do a separate show on that because otherwise we will be here till this time tomorrow morning talking about all sorts of things. So we'll concentrate on getting the stuff dried. Then I'll talk about how to store it. There's no trick to it. It's just making sure that you do it properly. I've lost my notes. Here we go, back again. So do I run through strawberries? We saw tomatoes, frozen veggies, all sorts of frozen veggies except cauliflower does not turn out nice. If you're going to do onion or zucchini, I slice the onion. I don't like doing grated onion. I don't mind doing grated zucchini. If you're going to do grated zucchini, grate it into a bowl, squeeze as much moisture as you can out of it, pop it in a tea towel if you have to and do the twisty trick, and then spread it onto one of the trays and let it dry. Now that goes really, really well in fritters. Grated dried zucchini in corn fritters or in meat fritters or just plain veggie fritters or veggie burgers. It's really, really good. It's also really good, you know, of course we all use zucchini to bulk out our pasta sauces, so you can do the dried to do that too. Now, zucchini, of course, in summer we have an abundance of, so we're slicing and dicing and freezing and we get sick of, you know, zoodles and all sorts of things. So if you dry it, you've got it for the winter where you don't have to worry about freezer space. It will fit on your shelf and it's there ready to use. You can just put some into your soup, into your stew, into your pasta sauce, and it's done. It's really easy to do it like that. All righty, now, what else did I have? I've lost my notes. Going back. Oh, potatoes. Okay, now I will keep trying to do this because it can be done. Dehydrating potato, drying potato. So it sort of works a bit like the instant mashed potato. I haven't mastered it yet where the potato hasn't gone grey. So when I do, I will be doing that too, because again, that's an easy way to store potato, and potato is so good for thickening things, for, you know, adding to things, to bulk them out. So I will be doing that. It can be done, but I have not yet mastered it. When potatoes are cheaper or when the garden's ready, I might give it another try. In the meantime, we've got fresh and canned. But you can do potato as well. If you've done potato, let me know if it worked. Herbs. Oh yes, of course. Oh, how could I forget? When you do the celery, don't forget to do the leaves. And of course, the silver beet, you do the stems and the leaves. And that makes beautiful powder too. Silver beet makes the loveliest powder. It's a beautiful colour that you can then add to things. But herbs, so parsley, rosemary, sage, oregano, lemon balm, garlic. All your herbs can be dehydrated and stored, so you don't have to have them hanging in bunches. I used to have them hanging in bunches all over the place. Okay, let me see. Who's this? Kathleen. Thank you. Dried potato slices, par cooked in salted water. Work great, makes good potato bake. Okay, I will try slices. I was doing the grated potato because I actually really wanted more like instant potato, the powder. But I'll try the slices and see how they go. Because potato bake takes ages to cook. So I usually cook the potatoes, not par cook them anyway, and then slice them and put them in the dish for potato bake. Thanks, Kathleen. Okay, now spring onions can be done. Apples can be done. I've mentioned all your oranges and lemons and bananas. Pumpkin. I haven't got any because I've run out, but last winter I had a pumpkin to use up. So I thinly sliced, thinly, turned the mandolin down to the thinnest thing and sliced pumpkin and dried that like that. And then I cooked some to a puree and dried the puree. Drying the puree makes a wonderful powder. The thinly sliced still makes a really good powder, but you need to add it to something to cook it, whereas the puree is already cooked. So you can do your pumpkin puree, powder it, and then use the cup of anything, cup of soup recipe that's over on our website and make pumpkin cup of soups. That's hard to say on a Tuesday night after a busy day. It's just delicious. And then your pumpkin doesn't go to waste. It doesn't go soggy because you've frozen it. You're not sick of eating it because it's big, because face it, even small pumpkins are big. There's a bit to get through. So try drying it. It works really well. But I would suggest doing the puree over just the thin slices. The thin slices were fine. They dried beautifully. They powdered beautifully. But it does need to be added to a soup or a casserole or something so that it will cook. Whereas the puree is, or the pumpkin's already cooked. You can dry your raspberries and your blueberries and things like that. If you've got grapes, you can dry grapes and make your own sultanas. All sorts of things. Yep, Kerry said capsicum. Joy is talking about potato slices. I'll give it a try, Joy. I'm not sure. I'll give it a try. Anything that goes to a powder has to be really almost crisp, dry, no moisture in it at all. Otherwise, the powder just clags together and will eventually go moldy. So no moisture at all in anything that you are going to powder. If you've got something like this, or even the peas, corn, carrots, there's a little bit of moisture in there. You can pop a moisture absorber in the top if you want to. It's why I'm really paranoid about making sure once they've finished in the dehydrator that they are absolutely cold before they get packaged up. No moisture, nothing to cause condensation. Okay. Pumpkin dried like potatoes. Potatoes dried like crisps, snap fresh. Okay, cool. They'll only absorb back to what they were, Rosalie. Now, you can underhydrate them, and they are disgusting. So when I'm doing peas, corn, carrots, what I do is I measure out how much I need, same amount of boiling water, put a saucer on the top or a lid on the bowl or whatever, let it sit. I let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then I will test it, because sometimes those little green peas are really stubborn. If you've ever had surprise peas and it says on the packet 3 minutes, and you know it's not going to be ready in 3 minutes because they just don't, they get really, really hard. So they take a lot of heat and a lot of moisture to rehydrate. So I will often try them, and if they're not quite done, I'll nuke them for a minute or two to speed it up and give them a helping hand. But otherwise, no, I've never overhydrated anything. For something like the mince, right, you cover it with boiling water. And as I said, if you're going to make pasta sauce with it, or if you're going to make something that you don't want the water in, you have to drain it. Otherwise, you know, if it's pie filling, I tip the whole lot into the pan and add the other things, because it's already, why throw away the flavour? Why throw away the goodness from the water? So I don't know that you can overhydrate, but you can certainly underhydrate, and they are disgusting. Really, really disgusting. The vegetables and fruits aren't like pasta. You know, if you cook pasta for 30 minutes as opposed to the 8 minutes, it might look huge and big, but it will be soft and soggy and the texture will be wrong. That doesn't happen with vegetables. Doesn't happen with your fruits and veggies. Larger dehydrators can also be used to rise dough and make yogurt. Yep. Sunny Window will too. Sunny Window will certainly rise dough much faster and cheaper than having to turn on an appliance. Not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I wouldn't use the dehydrator for that. It's like people that use the air fryer as to cook yogurt. Seriously, guys, get a thermos. It's free and it works every time. Follow my recipe. Follow my recipe and my instructions. It is foolproof. If you fiddle with it, it won't work. If you follow the instructions to the letter, it works every single time. And you don't need to use an appliance. I wonder how your dehydrator would have to be quite big. Okay, now Joy rises dough in the car with the windows up. Dry tomatoes in the car in summer, works every time. Okay, now I'm going to scoot up the top because we're running out of time and see what I can find. All right. Where's the duty? Okay. Okay, Garden Dell. There you go. She does it. Frozen veggies straight onto the tray, straight into the, yep. Works every time. Saves so much freezer room. Saves so much freezer room. So great. I love doing it. Right, now, Kerry says use baking paper. Kathleen says she uses clean chucks liners. Whatever you use for the smaller holes. Where's my thing? Here it is. Here we go. This is all I bought. This is just plastic canvas from Spotlight, guys. 50 cents a sheet. And I just cut it to size. Whatever you use, the holes, you need the air needs to be able to circulate all around the food. So you put your baking paper in, you poke a few holes in it. You make sure you've got holes in it so the air circulates around it. Otherwise, the top and sides will be done, the bottom won't. And you'll be shuffling and stirring and whatever. You need to, if you're going to do something, want smaller trays, don't buy them from Sunbeam or Excalibur or whoever because they're really expensive. Plastic canvas will work just as well, or fly screen, clean fly screen will work just as well. Anything with holes in it that will let the air circulate. The air has to be able to circulate around your food so that it is properly dry. And if it can do that, you're not overworking your unit. It's not struggling and going for hours and hours and hours. And your food will dry in the right time. If it's taking too long, if it's taking longer than the book says to dry your food, there's an issue. So it's either too big, it's too wet when it's going into the unit, or there's not enough air circulating around it. So you've got to think of those things. You can be frugal, but you have to be sensible too. Now, I use baking paper in the Aldi one, but I would poke holes in it, lots and lots of holes in it, so that the air could circulate around all those little bits of fruit. Okay. Yep, perfect. Kerry got cheap barbecue liners. Aldi often has them for $4.99 a box in a big roll. They would work, but again, you will need to cut little slits in them. It's really important. Otherwise, your machine is going to be working too hard to do the job. And it's fine to do that, but it won't last as long. I'm hoping that it lasts a long time. All right. Rosemary, can you over dehydrate things? Yes, they will burn. They will turn to let me see if I can get a piece of celery. Okay, there's a piece of celery. It's nice and crisp and dry. See, crispy. If it's so rock hard that you can't break it with your finger, it's overdone. Okay, because that's really tiny, so it should snap. If that's not going to snap, it's overdone. You can over dehydrate. They will burn. They will change color. They will be horrible. If you're unsure, if you don't have a book to refer to, if you are unsure, look it up. Look up the suggested temperature and the suggested time. Go to a few different sites and see, because I don't know what, but country to country they vary. Now, if you're in the tropics, the times and temperatures will be different to what they are here in Melbourne, because we don't have the humidity that they have in the tropics. Northern hemisphere is different to southern hemisphere because the weather is different. Our climate is different. So much like when you're pressure canning and you're looking at the PSI, and I do between 10 and 11 because that's what we are. If you're really high, you might have to do 14 or 15 pounds. Same sort of thing. Your climate, where you are, will affect the times and the temperatures for the food that you are dehydrating. But it's not, don't overthink it. Just do it. And if you are not sure, check often. Doesn't hurt to check often. It's not like making a sponge where opening the oven door will cause it to fail. Check often. If you are unsure, check. Check, check, check. And when it's at that point where it's nice and crispy, and you can still break it with your finger because it's a little piece, then you'll know it's done. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try. Give it a try. If you are unsure, just give it a try. Choose something inexpensive, like if you're growing silver beet, if you grow silver beet is really easy to dehydrate. Wash it, dry it, because remember, the more water it has on it, the longer it's going to take in the machine. So dry it and shred it. And seriously, if I'm going to powder it, I don't even shred it. I just twist it with my hands and tear it with my hands and put it onto the trays. Now, I am really fussy about making sure that the trays aren't over full, just because I don't want to have to rotate trays, and I want it all to be dried at once. I don't want to have to be, swapping things around and, oh, this bit didn't dry in the middle, but that bit's too dry. I want it all to dry at once, so I try to keep all the trays the same, with the same amount of food on them. Seriously, you've got better things to do than stand at the dehydrator. Kerry uses nylon fly screen. Yeah, I've got nylon fly screen out in the shed. It was really cheap from hardware shop somewhere. Don't know which one though, because I didn't buy it. All right. Okay. I made them. Okay. This is a sheet of plastic canvas. You'll find it at Spotlight. Lincraft, no doubt, have it. Craft shop should have it. It's for embroidery. Spotlight sell it with the wool and I don't know why they don't sell it with the embroidery things, but it's stored with the wool, the knitting wool. I got it for 50 cents a sheet. It's I get 2 out of each sheet, and I cut them to size. Easy enough to do. A pair of scissors or kitchen shears will cut that really easily. And simple. If you want to buy them, you can buy them. You can buy them. You can get them online. You can get them from Good Guys or wherever sells dehydrators, but they're really expensive. So, and that's pretty much all you're getting is, that. So if you want to make, if you want to turn one of the regular trays like this, one of these ones, into one like this so that you can do fruit leathers, That's when you use the barbecue tray liner, and you cut it just a bit bigger all the way around so that when it's full, when you've got your food in there, the lip will still be there. Pop that back in there so I don't lose it. Miss the shelf. But you don't need to spend a lot of money on it. Down here. Sorry guys, if I don't do it, I'll forget. Okay. Plastic canvas, Julie. It's just plastic canvas, and that's what it's called, plastic canvas. It's commonly used for cross stitch, embroidery, long stitch type things, that sort of stuff. Pretty much anything that you can clean that has little holes in it that you can cut to size that won't melt at 70 degrees Celsius, you can use. Don't use anything that's going to catch fire or melt into your food, because that would not be good. All right. Kerry's got warning: if you dehydrate onions or garlic, do it in the garage. Man, it smells. Well, I said stinks to high heaven. Same with mushrooms. Mushrooms, so good to dehydrate, but oh my goodness, they smell bad. Really, really bad. Chilies. Oh, hi, Jane. Jane says chilies have to be done outside too. Hello, Lucinda. Yep, parsley and onions. Okay, who's this? How long will it store for? Not sure what you're talking about. Okay. Jars like this, if they are vacuum sealed, easily 2 years. If they're not vacuum sealed, if they're just, finger tight, then, you'll use them. The ones I'm going to use, finger tight. Ones I want to keep in the pantry, vacuum sealed, so that they last longer. Then when I go to use it, I'll open the seal and I will just pop this lid and ring back on it to keep it like that. I'll talk more about how I seal things and how long they last. Lighter. Colin. Yep. There we go. An Excelsior and model, and we buy the $2 kilo bag of corn peas, carrots. Yep. And once dried, they last. They do. They last for ages and ages and ages. They are pretty much almost could go on the forever food list. Joy wants to know, what do you use them for that they last so long? Okay. I shop a little differently to most of you. So once a year, I will do a big shop. Last year, I didn't get to do it or finish it. So this year, I've been buying as we go. Normally, I would go and I would buy lots of frozen peas, corn, carrots, dehydrate them all, and they sit on the shelf, and then they just get used like they would out of the freezer. So tomorrow night we're having veggies, so I would get the jar off the shelf, portion out while the potatoes and the meat or whatever's cooking, measure them out, put the boiling water on them and let them sit. And I use them just like I would out of the freezer. It's no storing them on the shelf is no different to storing them in the freezer. It's just a different area for storing. So if you would normally buy them in bulk and store them in the freezer, you will buy them in bulk, dehydrate them, store them on the shelf, and have that freezer room for something even better. Can also use dry corn to make your own cornmeal. Yes. Now, did you know that you can also dry nuts? I forgot about that. If you want to, you can dehydrate nuts. I haven't tried it. We don't use a lot of nuts. So, but you can excuse me again, dehydrate nuts. Did Kerry laugh at? His fly screens in her old car in the backyard, did you? Yep. Yes, flavors, powder breads. More trays. You can never have too many trays, Karen. That's why I actually, when I got this one, it only came with one little mesh. All right, well, that's a bit pointless. So I went on the hunt to find more, and I actually have 6. So there's 12, 6 in the dehydrator and 6 waiting to be used when it comes out, because I'll wash them in the dishwasher. Just so I can rotate them, because seriously, these will go just about non-stop now till the end of autumn next year on different things. I love my dehydrated food. Yeah, Amy's right. So much more room in the freezer if you don't have packets of vegetables, packets of mince, all that sort of thing is gone from the freezer. It's really, really good. Oh, 20 trays. Ooh. See, no. Can you have dehydrator envy, Kathleen? I have to be satisfied with what I've got. Let's go. I haven't tried this, but I've read that dried tomato slices put in a salad and mayo sandwich. I've heard that too. I haven't tried it either. But it sounds all right. Although I wonder how much mayo you'd need to use. Would be worth experimenting on when we have tomatoes again. We're out of tomatoes because of the challenge. Yeah. Yep. Kathleen, lots of good ideas. I'll have to rewatch it as I keep getting it. Poor Joy. She interrupted. Herbs, mint. Oh, dried mint. Yum. Pineapple. Suzanne, I've never dried pineapple. And we use a lot of pineapple, but we eat it fresh usually. I love pineapple. Banana with a little lemon, dehydrate and grind to a powder. Okay, Kerry, what would you use banana powder for? Flavoring a cake? I don't know. Banana's a very strong, very distinct flavor. I'd have to think about that one. No, Maureen, very little. Even with both of them going, if you go out and watch the meter, it's hardly moving. They use very little power. It's an element and a fan pretty much, but And it cuts, the element cuts in and out as it reaches temperature, which sometimes I think that's not a good thing because it can cost more starting up again, yada, yada, yada. But no, they don't cost a lot to run. I can't say that we noticed once I started using, well, either of them, and then when we started using two of them, I can't say I noticed a huge increase at all in the power bill. Lucinda, how do we know how long for different items? Most things will take between 8 and 15 hours. It will really depend on the food, the size of the pieces, the temperature, the humidity in the air on the day that you are using the dehydrator. There's a lot of variables, and that makes it sound really confusing, but it's not. You just check it. You can set your timer for 8 hours and come back and go, no, they need another couple of hours. Set it for another couple of hours, come back, they're done. Then you'll know it's 10 hours on, if it's a really humid day, whatever. Now, peas, corn, carrots, for me, middle of summer, 10 hours will do the whole dehydrator. They'll be perfect. And I do those at 45 degrees. I do them low and slow. You can do them slightly higher, but I do them at 45 degrees and they take about 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours. It really depends on the food. Really, really depends on the food and the moisture in the food. Amy says hers came with a book that has drying times and temperature guides. Yep. Where am I? Gotta go. Potato slices are back to there. Alrighty. Rose petals and lavender. I picked lavender on Sunday. It was beautiful. My lavender's gorgeous at the moment. You can dehydrate marshmallows too. Yes, you can. I don't know why. We didn't like them at all, and they don't rehydrate. They become hard little chewy pellets. But I was sort of hoping that they would be like, we used to get from America, we used to get little packets of dehydrated marshmallows. My cousin would send them over, and they were tiny little things. The kids would put, a teaspoon of them in their hot Milo and then just watch them swell up, and they love them. But the ones we did ourselves, that didn't happen. So they were a bit of a disappointment. Julie, date everything, whether it's going in the freezer, on the shelf, whether it's vacuum sealed, in a jar, canned, date everything. Now, I just use a Sharpie. I think I showed you a few weeks ago. Here it is in my trusty drawer here. I just use a Sharpie. This is Mum's Sharpie, stays in the kitchen drawer on penalty of Mum losing the plot if she can't find it. And I just write on the jar. So that I know when it was sealed. But date everything. Then there's no doubt. You don't need to worry if it's been there for 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. Seriously though, if it's properly dried and it's vacuum sealed and the seal hasn't broken, it will be fine. It will be fine. It may have changed color. You might have noticed that the food might have faded a little bit or something. The carrots might not be so orange or the corn so yellow or whatever. but it will still be fine to use. Capsicum, onion, and garlic would be great for Italian and Mexican recipes. Yes. Sorry. You can, Karen, but okay, you can. Most of them have to be some sort of jerky style, which means that they are smoked or heavily spiced and seasoned, that sort of thing, which we don't eat. We don't like those sorts of things at all. And I didn't really like chicken dehydrated, just didn't work for me. So, but canned chicken is fine. I don't mind that. So I will can the chicken like I did last week. I will can the chicken and just keep dehydrating the mince. I have canned and dehydrated mince. They serve different purposes in my pantry, so I have them both. I canned mince today in quart jars. Down there on the end, I did 5 quarts because I noticed the pantry was getting low, so I did. And mince is still $8.99 at Costco. Alrighty. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, it's nearly 9 o'clock. I did not realize. Suzanne, you can cut zucchini into strips, sprinkle with garlic powder, onion powder, your favorite seasoning, and dehydrate them. Very nice. You would need to mark it that it is already seasoned so that you don't accidentally put in something that you don't want garlic in or whatever. And remember, they're ingredients. So when you have ingredients, you have options. You're not stuck with. It's why I can mince, why I can just plain chicken, plain beans, because I can add to them and make anything I like with them then. So dry the single things, the plain things, and you have options. You're not stuck with just Mexican mix or just Italian mix, or you have the options. You have the way to make the choices to do different things. Okay, I will go. I'm going to warm up my cup of tea that's gone cold and clean up my kitchen, turn the dehydrators on, and I might go to bed. Thank you for joining me. If you like tonight's show, please give us a thumbs up. If you know someone who might like tonight's show or who might benefit from knowing about Cheapskates Club, please use the share button to send them a link. That's all they will get is a link. They get nothing else. If they choose to click it, it's entirely up to them. And I will be back next time. And we'll talk about how to seal different things, different ways to seal them, and different ways to vacuum seal, because there's quite a few. Okay, thank you everyone, and I shall have a good weekend and stay out of the rain if you're on the East Coast, and I'll see you next week. Bye.